Okay, hello everybody, and welcome back to Saturday Shays Storytelling. And ain't no telling what day this will really go up though. Today is actually Friday that I'm making this, but this video won't go up tomorrow on Saturday. It won't go up today. It is August the 11th, 2017, and it is 2:21 p.m. in the evening time. So, I have my story list here. I have 6 little stories wrote down. I have got random.org up on my video, on my laptop. And the minimum is 1, the max is 6, and I'm fixing to click generate. Are you ready? Generate number 1. I hate when it does that. It's supposed to give me a number in the middle between there. Alright, the number 1 story is about my first little apartment. Now, the way y'all know how I take notes. The way I take notes of my little stories down is so weird and odd. And sometimes it takes me so long to get to these that I even forget truly what I really meant by what I wrote down, what I really and truly wanted to say and talk about. I do recall telling y'all other stories that involved my first little apartment. So I'm not sure. Hang on, I'm looking through my list. So I'm just gonna tell you, and I think I've already told y'all this. My new subbies won't know though, so I'm gonna tell you. My first little apartment. I was 18 years old. I married my husband Albert. He's still my husband today. He had rented, before we got married, he had rented this little apartment in town where we lived. And it was a 2-bedroom apartment. And, see, I may have even told y'all this. I'm going to throw it in there real quick, because I'm not quite sure what I've told y'all about this. Alright, he, so while we were going together, he rented this apartment. Okay? And when he rented it, me and him went and looked for it together. Because he had lived in Louisiana, I was living in Mississippi. And so he was moving to Mississippi to be by me because he couldn't stay away from me. So anyway, but we went looking. So we found this little apartment right in town. It was a 2-bedroom apartment, 1 bath. Had a nice sized living room, but a small kitchen. We rented it. Okay, he had me to go there. We rented it. Okay, I'm trying to remember what it was. He was at work, but he had me to go there when because there was a gas heater inside the living room there, the old-timey kind, and they had to hook up the gas heat to it and all that. So he had me to go there for when that guy came to hook all that up. Okay, so we did that. Okay, he moved in. So he had me over for supper one night. He cooked spaghetti. And he was still unpacking. He wanted me to help him unpack and put things away. So in the kitchen, and this was before we were going together. He had not even asked me to marry him yet, okay? So we was in the kitchen unpacking boxes, dishes and stuff. And he kept asking me, if this was your house, where would you want the dishes to go in the cabinets? Where do you want the plates at? Where would you want the plates at? The glasses, you know? And I was like, I know what he's doing. He was already planning on asking me to marry him. He already knew that house was going to be my house. And so anyway, that was funny. I didn't say that to him. I didn't let him know that I knew. I probably told my friends, but anyway. But I thought that was funny. So, you know, I helped him unpack and put dishes in the cabinet. Okay. So we get married, and I move in, And oh, by the way, when he was moving in the apartment, he also had me to go get him. He gave me the money and had me to go to the post office to get him, open up him a post office box. And when I did, and I sent him to give him the key back, he gave me a key to the post office. He said, "Here, you can have one too." So, you know, yeah. Okay, so the apartment. The apartment was cute. I loved it. The way it was set up, it was actually, I don't know if this is what they call duplexes or what. It may be. But it was on the right side. It was a white little house. And it had a carport attached to it. And then attached to that carport was another carport on the left side. And then attached to that carport was another little white house. And that white house was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. Set up just like ours, except for they were turned around backwards, you know. So ours was the one on the right side. When you drove down that road, that was a dead-end road. When you drove down that road, you pulled in on the right, and ours was the first one on the right. Then down was the left one. And funny thing, I don't know why I say it like that. I guess because people say that on things. Anyway, I enjoyed it, okay? I have this cousin from my daddy's side of the family, Mary Ann, and she is more Becca's age. Matter of fact, her and Becca hung out and stuff when they were kids and teenagers. So she's older than me. Becca's 7 years older than me, so that's probably somewhere around how old Mary Ann is from me. But still, excuse me, I'm sorry. At one point, we went to the same church, and I really liked her. I got close to her, and, you know, kind of became, I know we're cousins, but kind of became friends. You know, cousins are friends. But anyway, so one day, oh, let me tell you this too. This is a part of it. I was trying to, see, I'm jumping ahead. Let me go back. We had a little bitty front porch. When you walk in the front door, our living room, and it was kind of long. Well, it had the wall on this side when you first walk in, but then the wall stopped and it was opened up, okay? So you go to the left, and that's where the table was. So it's the kitchen area. So the table was at this end, plus the back door there going out into the carport. But when you turn there where the table is, then you turn back up this way, like you're heading back towards the front door, but you're over into the kitchen side. And it was the long, narrow, what they call galleyway kitchen, where it's just, you walk through between each counter space on each side. And so that was the kitchen up there. The sink was at the end. You looked out the window at the front yard. Okay, so then back to the living room, all the way at the end, there was a door. It was right on the left side of the living room, right beside the kitchen area part, or dining room area part. You walked through there. That was a little bitty short hall. There was a bathroom on the left side. There was a bedroom in the very end. And then on the right side at the end was the door going into the other bedroom. That was our bedroom. And then that bedroom was guest bedroom, and it had my extra stuff in it and stuff that I had moved in with me. And I had even went rummage selling and bought a baby bed and set it up in that room, you know, thinking if we're still here that long, that would be, you know, when we get pregnant for our first baby, that would be the baby's nursery. Never did get pregnant in that house. We only lived there. We got married in March. April, May, June, July, August, September, October. So 7 months we lived in that apartment, and I had not gotten pregnant yet. Okay, so I've told you about the house, but it was a cute little house. I liked it. But then when you walk out, you know, you're at the kitchen where the table is, and you walk out that back. It's a side door, but it's the back door, you know. You walk out that door, you're walking into the carport where we pull the car up at. It only held one car, and that's all we had at the time anyway. So, but then there's also, let me see if I can do this. When you walk out the door, the carport is here, and then there is a little like walkway, and it opens up in the back where you can go out into the backyard. But there was a little shed house there. That's where the utility room, we call it, the washer and dryer, and you could put a freezer in there and stuff like that. But when you walk through and go out to the backyard, it was like a very little narrow space, and then there was a fence, and on the other side of the fence was the grocery store. Well, it was a dollar store called Bill's Dollar Store, and then the grocery store was Piggly Wiggly at the time. But the fence, now we didn't do this, it was like this when we moved there. The fence, when you go through our walkway to the backyard, you see the fence, but you had to walk down like all the way back behind the other apartment on the other side, and the fence was kind of broke down there at the end, and you could actually step over and walk. So that's what we would do. When we wanted to go to the store there, we would walk back there, step over the fence, and walk around to the front of Bill's Dollar Store and Piggly Wiggly grocery store, and then walk back toting our groceries or whatever to the house. So that's how we did that, and that was fun. I love that. Okay, now back to the other side apartment on the left side. One day, it was during the day, Albert was at work, I had walked over to Bill's Dollar Store just to look around. So when I come out of the store, I see my cousin sitting in a car there, Marianne. She was on the passenger side. Her husband had went in to the grocery store, and I hadn't seen him. So I go to her window, and I'm talking to her, you know, and she starts telling me about how they're looking for another place to live, and they want to move there to that town. They had lived in another little town right beside there. And so I told her, I said, well, hey, because that other apartment on the other side of us was empty. Nobody lived there. So I told her, I said, hey, we live right back here. That was the first time I'd seen her since I'd gotten married. So, I said, we live right back here in this apartment. Matter of fact, I just walk up here to the store and walk back home. And I said, and it's 2 apartments. There's one right beside us, and it's empty. Nobody's living there. And I said, it'd be cool if you could move there and live there by me. And she got all excited, and she said, yes. So I gave her the man's name that we rent the house from. And, I didn't know his number, I'm sure, right then, and we didn't have cell phones back then. So, but I knew his name, so I gave her his name, and I think I knew where he lived, and I told her about where he lived, and I told her, I said, go check it out, talk to him, and see if y'all can rent it. And sure enough, it wasn't long, my cousin was living in that apartment beside me, and it was fun having there. I would go visit her, she would come visit me, you know. And she had a little baby boy that I liked to play him with and stuff like that. So when she would bring him over to my house, Albert had built me some big shelves that had went from floor to ceiling that was on one of our walls. And I had all of my whatnots that I had at home, you know, before I got married. And I had different kinds of candles that were shaped different ways. I had all them up there. I had a set of, they were really toy horses, the plastic horses that kids play with, and it had like the felt or velvety, like their hair on it and stuff. I had brown, black, white, different kind of horses, you know, and he even had them named and stuff like that. So, but they were plastic, and I actually had them sitting on the bottom of the shelf. So her little boy would come, and he was always plundering and messing with stuff, which you're not really supposed to. You're supposed to teach your kids. You're supposed to pat their hand and say, no, 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 don't mess with that if you don't want them to. That's how I did my kids. I didn't have any at this point in time, but I knew that's how I was going to do. I seen my sisters, Charlotte and Becca, do their kids that way, and that's just how we do and raise our kids, and it works if you do it right. No offense. She's my daughter. I love her. Katie don't do Gracie that way. Makes it hard on me. I'm Granny. Granny can't do Gracie that way. But if Katie would have done Gracie that way, it'd have been a lot easier on Granny. So anyway, and Katie knows better. We raised her and Elizabeth that way. They know, but yet she don't want to do that, you know. Anyway, so, okay, I'm losing my train of thought here. So the little boy, Jacob was his name, he would mess with my stuff. And he was messing with the little horses. I really didn't mind. I didn't care. If he touched something I didn't want him to touch, I would tell him no. And but I didn't care for him messing with the horses. And so, you know, I let him play with the horses. That was fine. But Marianne laughed at me. And she said, Sherry, when you start having kids, you're going to have to pick all that stuff up and pack it away and put it away. Or you ain't going to have nothing left. They're going to all be broke. I looked at her. And I said, no ma'am, Marianne, no offense, but I'm not going to have to do that. I said, because I'm going to do the right thing and teach my kids. I'm going to spat their hand and I'm going to say, no, you don't touch that. And they're going to listen or they're going to get a spatted hand every time. And she just laughed. She acted like she didn't really believe me. But once I started having my kids, Elizabeth, my first one, she was in her walker. And I had been pushing her around and playing with her, and I had stopped her, and she was right by and I had always kept everything out. She was right by my coffee table where I had something sitting there, a pretty trinket. I don't remember now exactly what it was. But I remember her reaching out. She was close enough. She reached it out to touch it. I spatted that hand, and I said, no, you do not touch. She pulled her hand back and whimpered a little bit. And that was it. She did not ever try to do anything else again like that. And Katie the same way. And that's how you have to do it. So anyway, and I'm trying to think, that's all the stories. I mean, we had our first argument. I've told about my first argument. I don't remember what it was about, but it happened to be on picture day. We was walking around to Bill's Dollar Store at the time to do, you know how they would set up in stores back in the day. I don't even know if they do that anymore. I don't hear of anybody doing that anymore, do y'all? And I've told this story before, and we went to take our picture, but we had just had our argument, but it was the appointment for the picture, so Albert wouldn't cancel it. I wanted him to cancel it, because when I get upset and get hurt feelings or mad, it brings you to make you mad or whatever, and you're arguing, I can't, you know, smile and, oh, everything's okay, it's happy. And I'd probably been crying and my face was probably red. I think we have the pictures, and when I look at it, I remember that argument. Because I think you can see, probably because I know. Other people, when they look at it, they probably can't tell it. But I feel like they can, you know. And I'm ashamed to show that picture because, you know, to me it represents we were arguing, you know. So anyway, I've told that story. And that's all I can think of about that apartment. I've told y'all other stories, I think, that when we lived there, but that's all I can think of, and we're almost at 20 minutes, so I need to cut this off. Hope y'all enjoyed the story, and we'll do other stories next time. If there's anything you want to know story-wise, let me know in the, ask the question in the comments below, and I'll add it to my story list. Alright, I'm out of here. Until next time, I'm done. I'm gone. Toodaloo!